wide eyes. "If you're here to rob me—" "No!" Josefa said, holding up her hands to show the woman that she meant no harm. "Just next bedroom." She gave the woman what she hoped was a charming smile before swinging open the door to the hallway and slipping outside. She breathed a sigh of relief, and then her heartbeat quickened, because there, right in her line of view, were the two guards. Officer Redbeard, tall and lanky, looking awkward and out of place, and beside him, the guard who was obviously determined to catch Josefa. His face was contorted into a violent anger as he explained himself to the matron of the place. Josefa didn't risk watching them for too long. She sucked in her breath and wove down the hallway, trying to figure out how she could get out of this without the guards catching sight of her. She could keep climbing up, but that might just get her trapped further. She could try to sneak past, but that had an even higher risk of her getting caught. Josefa cursed herself. She had been a little too eager today, leading her to make rash decisions. Still, there was no denying the fact that the adrenaline pulsing through her was giving her a head rush. If Violet were here, she would know what to do. She made it her business to be able to talk herself out of every situation. Josefa, on the other hand, was better at getting herself into trouble than getting herself out of it. Now the confused matron and angry-looking guards were making their way quickly down the corridor. They must have seen Josefa tumble in through the window, because as she slid into the dark recess of the hallway, hiding herself away in the unlit shadows, the matron knocked on the very door she had just stumbled out of. The woman from before, now fully dressed, swung the door open. "There is nobody here but me, as you can see," she said, stepping aside with a flourish and giving the guards a full view of her bedroom, dishevelled but empty. "Thank you, Miss Petite," the matron said, her smile as cold as the guards. "We would of course be immediately alerted if there was any sort of a break-in at our boarding house." The way she said it made it seem like their boarding house was something special. From the plush carpet that Josefa stood on, she knew that it was. The boarding house where Josefa stayed had no carpets at all. They were lucky just to have proper mattresses on their beds and curtains to draw over their windows to give them a bit of privacy. She knew of plenty of boarding houses that didn't have even those basic things. Josefa had no idea why Miss Petite hadn't told on her, but she thanked her lucky stars, especially as she watched the guards leave through the window. Disappointment smeared across their faces. Josefa grinned, slipping past the matron at her desk when she had her head bowed low and stepping out the door soundlessly. She glanced up at the glow of lamplight in the window she had climbed through. The woman, or Miss Petite as she had learned, gave her a grim wave. Josefa wasn't sure what to make of it, but she returned it thankfully before turning away. She plucked out the wallet she had nicked from one of the men outside the pub. Inside there were a few scattered coins that clinked as she dug through the pockets. There was a picture of a woman who Josefa could only assume was his wife. She had short blonde locks and a smile that showed all her crooked teeth. Finally, she found what she was looking for, pushed to the very bottom of the wallet. She pulled the pieces of paper out between her thumb and forefinger. The chase had definitely been worth it, because there in front of her was her ticket onto the Titanic. 2. O'Neill's boarding house, 7:20 p.m. Violet, Rubiyat, V. A drop of black ink from her pen dripped onto the paper, and Violet cursed under her breath. She had stained the end of her letter, the tips of her fingers, and even part of the desk. Exactly what she needed. Shaking out her hand as if the ink would simply slide off, Violet sighed. She tucked the letter inside the book she had been reading and buried her head in her hands. With every letter that Marco sent, Violet felt more and more helpless. Her little brother was only 12, and he was left to fend for himself in their time.